Kia ora koutou katoa. Welcome to the Rules as Code Guild, the RaC Guild. We are Town Hall 23. This is the 1st of July 2026. And really excited to have a presentation this evening from Phillipa from Salsa Digital, who have a new product called Assemblic Codify. So we're now getting into the area of getting AI to actually help us with this incredibly complex process of turning rules into code. And Phillipa has been working with this product, developing it with the team. And tonight she's going to give us a demo of what it looks like at the moment. I won't say anything more. I'm going to hand it over to you, Phillipa. There'll be time for questions at the end. So if you want to chuck your questions in chat, please do that as they occur to you, but we'll answer them at the end so that we don't disturb Phillipa's flow. New product pitch.
Thank you, Jo. All right, I might start sharing then, Julie.
Yep, just a sec. All yours.
Great. Okay, so as Jo said, tonight our time, I know it's morning in Europe, but here in Australia it's 7 p.m. So tonight in Australian time and New Zealand time, I'm going to be looking at Assemblic Codify. So first of all, I wanted to provide a little bit of quick context. So Assemblic itself is a rules as code platform for open coding and hosting, and that actually launched in 2025. And in fact, back then the CTO Kurt Foster did a RaC Guild session looking at Assemblic and what it was all about. More recently, we've just recently had an IRAP assessment. So that's the Australian Government's Information Security Manual, looking at a security classification. So that's a formal assessment done by an independent assessor, and that's been done to the official sensitive level. And that's how recent it was. It's just literally completed, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So that's hot off the presses that the whole Assemblic product, including Assemblic Codify, has been IRAP assessed to official sensitive. A bit more about the context. So while all this has been happening, so while we've been developing the platform, while we've been also looking at the IRAP assessment, in the background, we're working on one of the big problems in rules as code. And basically, many of you are aware of this, of course, all of you are rules as code experts and advocates, but often in a rules as code project, you've got a really big team, you've got subject matter experts or policy experts, you might have lawyers and legal experts, business analysts helping with the rules analysis, then you've got developers and rules as code experts as well. And you're often using a variety of tools, like you might use Miro to do some visual logic mapping, or flowchart software, or spreadsheets. So there's quite a lot of work that happens manually work. And so this current state was fully manual, where you would have a person or people analysing the rules, creating those logic flowcharts in Miro or another program, then often manually writing the test cases. Then you'd have OpenFisca developers stepping in to write the actual deterministic code. And so this, of course, translates in rules as code to a lot of time, a lot of resources, and we all know that time and resources means money. So this was the background problem that we were working on. Our future state was to look at how we could automate that as much as possible. And that brings us to the topic of today's presentation, which is Assemblic Codify. So basically the process, and I'll do a very high-level overview and then I'll do an actual demo. So we upload legislation. There's a couple of different formats for that. Then Assemblic Codify maps it into visual logic. Importantly, and once again, when I do the demo, you'll get to see this, but we have quite a few key points for human in the loop involvement. And this is one of them once that visual logic has been produced. From there, Assemblic Codify creates the test cases, which again can be reviewed by subject matter experts. And then Assemblic Codify also writes the OpenFisca code. So you're going all the way through from the initial analysis all the way through to writing code using Assemblic Codify in this automated manner. There's also different input options for Assemblic Codify. So you can upload a PDF document. You can upload, or not upload, but put in a URL or multiple URLs, and it will pull down that information. You can also create logic maps using drag and drop features and also using a chat interface. So now I'm going to do the demo. Let me just get out of this presentation and into a tab which has Codify. So what you're seeing on screen is Assemblic Codify. So down here on the left, we can add a logic map. So you add the logic map, test RaC1, and hit create there. And then you can, again, use any of those different input methods. First of all, I'm just going to show you how to do a general import. So from PDF or from or another document or from legislation. So up here we have the upload document or from a URL. I'm going to upload a document. I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment while I, because I'm going to be, you can see some of my screen. So I'm, for security purposes, going to stop sharing, and I will bring us back now. Okay, so you can see here now I've got a folder which has got the things that I'm going to be using for Assemblic Codify. So I'm going to upload this document here. Can everybody, actually you might not see that little window. Let me have a look. Oh no, you can't. So you'll see it when it comes up here. And click open. And from there, that document is going to actually upload, and that will then give us our rules. So what I've chosen, I'll just show you what I've chosen on screen so you can see what the rules are. I've just chosen something quite simple. Let me pull this over to my screen, and I'm going to share this one instead. Hopefully this will be fairly seamless.
Love a live demo.
Yeah, might just do the window for the moment. Here we go. Okay, so this one here, as you can see, there's quite a simple rules here. So we really only have 4 rules. This is a kind of made up rules. So you must be an Australian citizen or permanent resident to get a disability allowance. You must have a disability that requires ongoing support for everyday life functions or that requires ongoing supervision or treatment by a health practitioner. You must have a monthly taxable income of $500 or less. And if you're eligible, you'll receive $200 a week. So I'm going to close that one now and take us back to our Assemblic Codify screen. And you'll see here that it has created our map. Okay, so we've got, actually it's a bit too, so we've got the citizenship residency first, and then if they fail that, it goes straight to being not eligible. Then you've got the disability for everyday functions. I might just move this one up here. And then you've got the monthly taxable income, and you've got your different outcomes here as well. So over here, we also have a chat feature. It's got an editor agent where you can actually change the rules, and it's also got a legal advisor where it actually is like takes you through the process as if you're the person. So it's going to take me through this flow chart. So is the person an Australian citizen or permanent resident? So I'm going to say yes to that. That then takes us back and checks, and it will take us, because I've said yes, takes us to the next one. So does the person have a disability that requires ongoing support? So let's say yes for that as well. And then that will take us to the next point in the decision tree. So this could be obviously integrated as a bit of a front end instead of a normal website. So then it takes us to our monthly taxable income. So let's say the person has a monthly taxable income of $400. And then it will go through the next part of the tree. You can see here that they're going to be eligible because it's $500 or less. And it actually explains to you that tick, Australian citizen, tick, disability requiring ongoing support, tick, your monthly income is $400, which is below the $500 threshold, and a result eligible to receive a disability allowance of $200 a week. We can also change these. So I'm just going to close this for the moment. So just say a rule changed and you needed to change this to 550. So the actual logic sits here, and this is just what gets displayed. So you have to change it in both places. Well, actually, you really only have to change it not on the display, but obviously it's better if you change it in the display as well, just to keep it nice and obvious. Save condition, and then if we did through that whole process again and put in the higher income, as long as we were under the 550, we would still be okay and eligible. There's also, if we go back to these, we also have an editor agent. And with this one, you can actually make a change. So I might say here, can you change the monthly taxable income threshold to $500? Let's change it back to 500 and hit return. And so then the editor agent is actually going to go and find that within your logic, whatever it is that you're asking it to change, make the change, and it'll come up here in the UI for acceptance as well. So you then get to accept it. So see here, it's got it here. Do I want to apply the changes? Yes, I want to apply the changes. Then you can see that this has now been updated here. We also have the ability to do, actually, I'll just close that. We also have the ability to do a manual logic map. So let's go RaC Guild 2. And here, let's just say, so if you click here, you get access to the drag and drop features. So it's going to say we're going to have that citizenship thing again. If we click here, we can edit this here. Citizen, Australian citizen. And we've got a Boolean. You can add in a reference, a legislative reference. My Act 1.1, this is section. And then we can say, okay, if they're, from there we can do a terminal outcome here, which is going to be that they're not eligible for citizenship. And that would be classed as a fail. And then we can do our link these up here. We can click in here and we want the display to be no, so they're not a citizen. And it's actually a Boolean. And if they get a false, then it comes to this one. And then we do the same thing for, let's see the next one here. Let's say that they have to be living out of home. So this is for some youth allowance. Let's make it a Boolean again. And then we will put our link in. Go into this. We've got a yes here for our description. We've got Boolean is true and save that condition. And then we just need another terminal outcome to make this one eligible. And to living out of home and whether they're living out of home or not. So let's say if they're living out of home, they're eligible. And if they're not living out of home, they're not eligible. Oh, sorry, living at home. So here we do our connectors again. So if they are living out of home, then they're eligible. Yes, there, so it's nice and clear. And if they're not living out of home, then they're not eligible. So not living out of home. And then we have our, oh, sorry, I forgot to put that these ones need to be, that one is a fail and that one is a pass. And then we could do the same thing where we actually go back to our legal advisor, hit refresh, and you could actually take you through, just like I showed you before, taking you through the process to see whether a person, whether it's yourself or a client, is actually eligible. So you can see it's already starting on this first point here. Now I'm going to go to some more complex legislation or rules now. So if we have a look at this one, you can see, move this so we can see it. You can see this is quite a much busier map. And this one is for medical devices. So in this one, depending on the medical device and its use, you get classed as different classes. So it might be class 1, class 2, class 2B, class 3, etc. So it depends on how the device is used and the level of risk or the level of seriousness that it's used to treat. So I'm just going to use this map, this logic map, to show you another one of the features, which if you remember back to the overview, you can actually create test scenarios. So down here, I can see there's a one pre-populated test scenario, but I can actually go to, and what the expected outcome is. I can go down here and I can generate 20 or 30 or 100 different test cases. Let's just go with 20. And then it actually pre-populates this with different information. This is, again, another really good point for that human in the loop, because you could have someone looking, okay, what's the intended purpose? What's the risk? What's the treatment intervention risk? What's the therapy? What do I expect the outcome to be? Yes, I expect it to be class 2B. So it's another point of validation that the logic is correct. And obviously also within the logic flow, as you saw, I made that change where I changed one of the figures from 500 to 450 or whatever the change was I made. You can also make changes directly into the diagram itself. So if you did find something here that was not matching with what the subject matter expert thought should happen, then you can actually go back and fix up the logic tree. Now, you can also run a validation. So as I mentioned, part of what Codify does is to actually write the OpenFisca code. So if you do this run validation, it runs these test scenarios against the OpenFisca code, and it tells you whether your tests pass. So in this case, you can see all the tests have passed, and you can also go in and find out some more information, including this decision path, which is obviously quite beneficial. For one of the things that Rules as Code, as you all know, tries to do is to create a better sense of transparency and open government. And obviously this is where it makes it really useful, because it's actually telling the person, and again, whether that's, because you can have one Rules API that's integrated with multiple different systems, a chatbot for citizens, a website for citizens, an internal customer service system for people working in the public sector, for example, or for people working in advocacy groups. They could all be looking at this and actually understanding why a particular answer has been given. This can be downloaded as a readable report. In this particular case, I'm not showing you, this tool has also been integrated with the broader OpenFisca set up in Assemblic, so that from here, if you do all of this from within Assemblic, you can actually, once you're all happy with it, you can click a button and it actually pushes all your code to your dev environment or your production environment, so that you're all ready to go and you've got your OpenFisca API with your deterministic code. Now, have I missed anything in my demo? I've showed this manual. I know what I haven't done. I haven't shown you. Let's do another new one. So we're going to create a new logic map. We're okay for time. 3. I'm going to create that. Now I'm going to go back into the chat and into the editor agent. And we've got the test 3. So if we refresh that, it'll tell me that there's nothing there. So now I'm going to get some rules. You just find. Okay. So let's have a look at this one. I've just copied something into my clipboard and you're about to see it on screen. So I'm going to ask it to create a logic map for the following rules. And then I'm pasting what I've just had here. So this is for, there are actually rules around employing young people in the ACT, which is the Australian Capital Territory here in Australia. And I've just picked up, not all of them, but just some of them. And then you'd hit submit or enter. And what that will do, so as you can see, the rules are that if a person's between 15 and 17 and they're at school, they can only work outside school hours. If they're 14 and under, they must have adequate supervision and work safety standards. They can only work 10 hours a week and they can only work outside school hours if they're at school. Now, I did copy and paste this one in earlier. It will probably only take a minute if people are happy to wait in silence for a minute. Or I can do the here's one I prepared earlier. Anyone have any votes?
Show us what you had earlier.
All right, I'm going to go to the prepared earlier and then I'll come back to this one. It's probably almost done, but let's go. Okay, so this was the one, that was I did more of this one. I did a lot more of the rules. So it was the same topic, but more rules than just, so you can see this one is a young person, 15 to 17, currently attending school. So you've got your two different age groups, age 15 to 17, 14 and under. You've got the, if they're at school, can only work outside school hours. And no, if they're not at school, there's no school restriction. And then we have this one, you can see it's a bit more complicated because there are actually other rules to do with, you know, like if they're...
Are you sharing the right screen? Because we've actually got them on the screen of the first one.
Oh, sorry, I was not sharing the right one. Oh, well, I might as well go back to this one now. Sorry, I wasn't sharing the correct one. So as you can see, it comes up here, you hit apply changes, and then that will build the logic. So I'll just do that little flow again. So you come here with what's the age of the young person, 15 to 17. Are they currently attending school? If yes, must work outside of school hours. And if no, then they can work in any hours. If they're under 14, have they got adequate supervision? If the supervision requirement's been met, how many hours are they working per week, and so on. So it just takes them through that flow chart. And the last thing I'm going to show you is if you get a more complex example, let me get rid of these things so we've got more real estate. When you get more complex rules, what it will do is it will start to break them down into sections. So you can see here, this is for age pension. So you've got age eligibility, age requirement not met, you're not eligible. But if you do meet the age requirement, then you have to meet the residence rules. So you can click here and expand it out. You can see it's quite complex in terms of the residence rules for the age pension. And you can come back and put that back in. And then you would go, if you meet the residence rules, you would then go to the assets test and the income test. And again, these are actually quite complex. So they expand out so that you can go through and check all of that logic to make sure that Codify has picked it up. This one was actually loaded from URLs as well on Services Australia website. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my presentation. So in terms of the current status, let me just go back to the slideshow. So at the moment, Salsa Digital is using Assemblic Codify with rules as code clients. It is built into the Assemblic platform, as I mentioned, so you can deploy OpenFisca code straight to project environments. We've got some subscription options coming soon so that people can use Codify. And it was, as I mentioned, it was part of the RAP assessment. So I know because of the time slot, this is mostly for people in Europe, so it won't apply to you. But for Australian government, it's quite important to have that IRAP assessment that covers even that AI component of the Codify option. And also applicable to Australian government is that soon it's going to be available for Australian government via the Drupal services panel. And I think that I have finished now. I can stop sharing and we do some Q&A.
Con has his hand up straight away. Something to add.
I just, Phillipa, talk about the use cases for retrospectively codifying existing legislation versus using Codify for the policy drafting phase and through to policy simulation in OpenFisca.
Yeah, so obviously, let me just share this again. If you were going to be using it for policy drafting, you would probably either do the one where you're actually using the drag and drop, so a visual interpretation of it, so you're going straight to that, or you could use the editor agent, like I showed you, just refresh that, the editor agent to actually build out your logic map and your new legislation or your new rules.
So you'd be able to use it to test the logic map for new legislation to see there are no, contradictions or ambiguity or anything like that through your test cases.
I can show you the, if there's no questions, I can show you the output for the test cases.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So you said you could download the logic reports, once you sent it at the end. there was a screen and a button that you could click to see that the logic had been tested and it had come out true every time. So for validation that rule has been through some kind of check, that would be a good document to prove that it has been through some kind of check, right? But there's also been a lot of work that happens in the chat with the AI, and does all of that get lost every new session, or every time you press refresh, or every time you go from legal advisor to editor agent, all of that backwards and forwards you've done to create the rule, to validate the rule, to change do you know what I mean? Like all of those processes, are they saved anywhere?
At the moment, it's starting to get into a more technical question. At the moment, I don't believe all of that history is saved. It's the final outputs. And if you generate the test cases and then also, let me have a look. I'll just generate the test cases here and then do that readable report. And if I open that report,
that'd be great.
I'll show you what it looks like. I'll have to change my screen sharing. Okay, so this is what the validation report looks like here.
Okay, yeah.
So you can actually, oh, there was only one scenario. Hold on, I better do some more scenarios.
That's right, I can see what it's like.
Yeah, that was only the one test scenario. Do you want me to just do some more so that we can have I'll quickly do them. Okay. And readable report.
So there's an identity for the map, essentially. But there isn't an identity for the person that's created it, or
right, sorry, Joe, I'll just get this one up and then we'll come back to that. Unfortunately, I'm still getting used to Meet and some of the different
did that.
Dash report 10, there we go. Okay, so this is our 20 scenarios. And this is definitely a document that could be reviewed by a subject matter expert. And you can see that they've got scenario 4, intended purpose, diagnose, inform, death or severe, high, class equals 2B, status pass. And so you can actually go through and have someone review that. In terms of whether there's going to be like the ability to keep all the history, I guess that hasn't been a request yet for the chat history and all the evolution. Obviously, there's versioning built in. So once you get to that point and export to OpenFisca, then you can go back in and change and export again, and that keeps all the versioning. But it hasn't at this stage, as far as I'm aware. I'd have to, as I said, it is more of a technical question, but as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been, we're not capturing the conversation that the person's having to refine the logic map.
Thanks for
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
It does. Thank you. Robert, you have a question. Thank you for coming to the RaC Guild. Go ahead.
Hello. Thanks for the invite and thanks for having me. I'm new. Greetings from Portugal.
Great to meet you.
Just a quick intro. I'm CEO and founder of synapselayer.ai. We do also convert rules, generally not just laws, into executable code. And I found it very impressive, Phillipa, what you have here. I just have a few questions in terms of capacity. So could you upload a long law there and it would run through it automatically? And what do you use in the background? And third question, but not that important, is does it also do other languages?
Okay, so first question is, yes, we've experimented with some full pieces of legislation. Obviously, it just takes more tokens, AI tokens, and a little bit longer. I chose short ones because obviously we don't want to be sitting here for 10 minutes while it goes through a 200-page document. I didn't think that would be particularly captivating viewing. But yes, we have experimented with longer pieces, and yeah, it just takes longer and more tokens. And obviously then there's more, in terms of the manual check, there's also more work to do for that manual QA. In terms of how it's working, what we'd like to do, because we couldn't have one of our technical representatives join us today, we'd like to get back to people who are at tonight's guild with answers to technical questions. So because that one does start to go more into, what's under the hood, so to speak, I'd like to say we'll get back to you on that one. And what was your third one? Oh, different languages.
Yeah.
Yes, we've talked about that actually. That's it doesn't do it at the moment, but it's on the product roadmap for experimentation and to roll that out as well. Yes, because we know that there's the need there for different languages. So yeah, that is on our radar.
And I'm sure use cases would be very useful, Robert, should you have any in Portuguese that you would like to.
Yeah, definitely, because that's one of the things too is experimenting, and so far we haven't just thrown in something in another language. Although we've got Julie, we could get you to do something, check something for us in German, and we could give that a go. But yeah, we haven't tried something in another language yet. But it may be that there's not much, if any, work that needs to be done, that it can actually take the additional language as it is now.
We have just, sorry, just follow up. We've just open sourced the big part of the German criminal code in English, so that's available and can be looked at. Just out of curiosity, when you run this, how much accuracy do you get? How much? Because you said then if it's longer pieces, you need to review more. Do you have a percentage of?
I don't have an exact one. It is fairly early days. It's probably, so far with what we've been putting in, it's around the 95% accurate. So it's doing a pretty good job. We're pretty happy with it. But obviously with some of those really long ones too, we need, as Joe said, the longer use cases where subject matter experts in the room to go through with you and just confirm that even for those 200-page horrific legislative documents that it is at that sitting around that 95%.
That's impressive. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Any other questions?
You stole my line.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
It's your job to ask that, isn't it?
You mentioned before that you'd inputted rules from a URL, right?
Yeah.
So it's, you don't have to download a PDF or format a markdown file or whatever. You can actually print it at a Australian government website and say encode this.
Yeah, any government website. Let me just share again. And that's because, you know, sometimes the law, as we know, has changed so much and it's written in such dense legal language that often, certainly, you know, we found places like Services Australia often use their websites as a source of truth because it's been written in plain English. I'll just show you that feature. So before I uploaded a document, but you can just go from a URL and you'd put the URL in here. Let me just quickly.
Of course,
So
you've got
this
to
is
find the rule on the website first in order to be able
yeah.
to do that, which is not always easy.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you this screen. So I've just gone on to Services Australia is the main organisation here in Australia, the government body who administers our social security benefits. So you could go into actually, I might do eligibility. And you could get some of the rules here. So you've got your URL there. And if you go back into Codify, and we've got a URL here, and then we could go extract the rules, or we could add another URL. So if there was, because, and sometimes it could be an actual legislation URL, but it might be coming from a government department's website where they've written it in more plain English and they've pulled out the most relevant content and written it in a way that they're happy with. On the website that's less dense and more accessible for citizens. And so they might decide that they'd actually prefer to give that to Assemblic Codify as the source of truth rather than the original Social Security Act with all of its addendums. And you can just add in the extra URL. So we could go back to here and go into this who can get it, add that URL. Go back to Codify, share this, add that one, and then hit extract the rules, and it will then start extracting the rules from those two URLs. So yeah, there's quite a few different ways to get rules in. It's basically those 4 ways. You can either manually, visually, drag and drop through, let me just move into this one, through these areas here.
What about nested rules, right? So some rules in the rules refer to other rules, which are in other places, right? So does it search for layers? I mean, you'd hope they're linked, right? And if they're not, there would be some kind of error message to say we can't find this rule to work out what the logic is.
There's a little bit of experimentation that we need to do with that in terms of how much of that is better done manually. So making sure that you've got the most up-to-date legislative instrument or the most up-to-date version of the Act. And we haven't experimented with case law or anything like that yet either. So it's, you know, still fairly early days. But yeah, I know that the tech people who've been behind this were definitely looking at how to make sure that it did get all of the relevant information. So I might, Julia, are you able to write these down, the questions that we need to get back?
They'll be on the recording, Don.
Oh, they will be.
The wonders of modern technology.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions. Stefan, you turned your camera on, which means we can see you. Welcome.
Thank you. And I had a question, so I didn't want to just like hide. But, so how do you handle in the system then if there's like undefined legal terms where there is no clear just like yes or no answer to it?
It will actually flag that, which is quite handy, because sometimes, as you know, sometimes during the codifying process, you actually find problems that people didn't even realize existed in the legislation. And Codify will actually let you know that there's a problem at this particular gate. And it can also be set up so that if there are, just say you've got 10 black and white rules and then 2 that are subjective. So it can be set up and integrated with an internal system so that it then feeds that. So it does all the automation part that it can. So it gives the, so just say if we're talking about social security benefits, maybe it gives the caseworker all of the information about that person, that they're eligible, and now you just need to check this and this and make a subjective decision about this, perhaps because the law is a little bit grey, or perhaps because it's been built so that there is subjectivity and that human element that can be introduced into decisions that affect people's livelihoods.
And can the tool then also be integrated into other systems? So there's if, for example, the data needs to be extracted from this I don't know, a database, or this certain third-party information, can it be integrated so that it pulls the information then automatically, or do I always have to put this the entire case into the chat?
Well, I mean, it's starting to get more technical, but it is a rules API, so it should be able to be integrated with a variety of different things. Just a matter of then that becomes an integration technical piece rather than codified by itself. But we might also circle back to that one.
Okay,
thank you. A more technical response.
But it looks beautiful. I mean, it really looks like a very user-friendly tool.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've been having some fun playing with it.
Whose hands have you been putting it into, Phillipa? What roles do people have that you've let loose on Assemblic Codify?
So far, it's mostly been used as a SELSA digital internal tool as we're developing it. As we said, it's just passed the IRAP assessment. It was included in that IRAP assessment, so we're just now at the stage where we're going to be rolling it out. We've got a couple of our clients who are interested in using it with us, and we're literally just about to start working with those clients. So it's still quite early days, but yeah, it's exciting. It'll be mostly, I think, policy experts, business analysts, etc. And we've done quite a few custom demonstrations for government as well, and so we'll probably continue doing that with this latest version that has got a lot more features.
Can I just jump in to ask if is this Australia you're talking about, where you're going to be dealing with people?
No, actually, we have, it'll be both. It'll be Australia, it'll be overseas. So we have a couple of different clients around the world that will that are interested in experimenting with this, and we've also got Australian-based clients and government departments that we've starting to in talks with at the moment. So,
because when you mentioned the different people you might work with on it, I would, as ever, encourage you to work with legislative drafting offices. So there's lots of them in Australia. I can help put you in touch with them if you want. Or if you say overseas, if Jersey counts as overseas, then I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, Jersey definitely counts as overseas.
Overseas, yeah.
Quite a long way.
Lots of seas, big seas.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you, Messi.
Thanks, brilliant.
Nice one. Cool. Con, go for it.
Goes without saying, but yeah, these types of tools, again, it goes without saying, it's the RaC Guild, we keep hearing it over and over. One of the biggest barriers to the adoption of rules as code. I mean, as we've always known, rules as code makes so much sense, right? You can't imagine a world in a few years where there isn't an authoritative, definitive source of rules that isn't just free-form website text. So it needs to get there, and that's been a problem for many, many years. And why hasn't it been there? Well, one of the biggest issues has been the effort that it takes to go from, you know, the thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of legacy rules, legislation, and what have you into the codifying to get them codified. And so that massive investment, if we can reduce that investment through now with AI, and AI is the game changer, obviously, when it's used properly, when it's obviously, you know, well engineered, buttoned down, secure. You know, you've got all getting it to test itself with all its various agents so that the outputs are more accurate. That AI tool is the game changer, I think, for rules as code, where you can get tools like this to be able to lower that barrier for codifying existing rules. And hopefully this means that there's, you know, more take up of rules as code generally, because the time it takes to generate the rules is so much less, the time and cost and effort. Because when you have a lot of expensive, you know, subject matter experts and coders in a room, you know, that you want to be able to reduce that time as much as possible while keeping the human in the loop. So what you get isn't just deterministic, isn't just inferred, but is.
Oh, we dropped you for a few seconds there. Your last sentence one more time, Con.
Oh, just, you know, the case for rules as code can become even stronger now with tools like this.
Yeah, sure can. Does anybody else?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that around the world, that that uptake. I think that there are some places where AI is being used and it's probably not the best tool, but I think rules as code is definitely a place where it's a really good use of AI, and to help automate some of that really detailed and lengthy process that, again, you know, people on this call are involved in that space, so you know how long it takes to do it manually.
Sure do. Any other questions from anybody? No? Well, Phillipa, awesome. Live demo too. It takes some guts to do that pre-launch. So well done, thumbs up for that. Very good. And thank you. Yeah, excellent. We are looking forward to the next Rules as Code Guild on our screen now. So the next meeting, we always meet on the first Wednesday in the month, which this month happened to be the first of the month. But next month, it's the 5th of August. It's a different time zone for everybody. So everybody swaps. If it's the evening now, it'll be the morning, and vice versa. You can always go to the RacGuild.org events page to see the dates of the previous ones, to see the links to all of the previous videos of all the people we've had for the last 23 RacGuild Town Halls. We're always keen to hear new stories from new parts of the world, Robert. If there's anything you'd like to share with this community that's growing all the time, then please do reach out to us at the RaC Guild. And yeah, that's it for this evening. Thank you for coming along. Please do reach out to the guys at assemblic.com to find out more and to get your hands on a trial of this awesome new product that's hopefully going to make Rules as Code a global phenomena at last.
At last.
Thank you very much, guys.